Hi, my name is Qureshi, and today I will be discussing with you a very important use case, that is real-time file processing from object storage using Oracle Integration Cloud. In everyday scenario, I come across many requirements where we need to process files which are stored maybe in object storage, and you want to do them real time. As soon as the file drops in the bucket, I want that to be processed in my downstream systems. And in this case, many times I find my customers, my fellow developers, that they are actually running a scheduled integration. They are going through the files, and in that case, sometimes they want to see which file was dropped first. So they need to do a lot of permutations. But there is a much easier way to process files in real time. In this scenario, what we will be using, one of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure services called Events. This is a service which a lot of OCI services, they fire events which we can capture. So in this scenario, when a file is dropped in object storage, we will enable events that as soon as a file is created, now these events can be transmitted to three different systems. It can be a notification, it can process an OCI function, or it can send a message to OCI Streaming, which is our Oracle Managed Kafka service. So for our use case, when the objects are dropped, an event will be fired. It actually sends an event to OCI Streaming. And on Oracle Integration Cloud, using the OCI Stream adapter, we will be have a trigger using OCI Streaming adapter. So as soon as the event comes, Oracle Integration Cloud integration knows about it, and now we have all the information to process that file. Once the event is triggered in OIC, depending on your use case, you might want to send that file to an ERP system, or you want to send it to an ATP system, you want to send it to an FTP location, or you want to store it in a local file where your connectivity agent is running. So the scenarios and what you can do with this information, that's totally up to you. And in this scenario, I will just take one use case. So what I want to show you, how to configure an object storage with an event, and how to get that information in OIC all in real time. As you know, Oracle Integration Cloud has a lot of adapters. And as I said, once the data is available in Oracle Integration Cloud, we can, our options are limitless. What we can do with that file, it really depends on your use case. In my scenario, the integration that I will be building together with you, I will be using adapters for REST. I will be using adapter for file because I've taken a scenario where I want to store the file locally. And I will be using the OCI streaming adapter. This is the integration that we will be building together, which starts with a trigger, look at the file, save it in a local file, and then we delete that file from object storage as well. Before I go into Oracle Integration Cloud, let's quickly have a look at OCI console. So here, when you are in OCI console, you can go and add storage, and you can click on buckets, and you can create your own new bucket. So let's see how to create a bucket. It's very simple. I click on create. I provide a bucket name. Let's call it HQ files. There are different storage tiers over here. We can encrypt it using Oracle key or my own key, but I want to keep it very basic, like all the default options, because all I'm interested in just creating a bucket at this stage. Now my bucket has been created. You can see it is the default storage tier, and it's a private bucket. It's not a public bucket. When you create a bucket, you can upload files over here. We will come and do that shortly. But to emit events, there is an option over here, emit object events. So I need to enable this. So once I click edit and I enable it, now this bucket will start emitting events. As I said, when an object is created, when a file is deleted, there would be events fired. But we need to create an event rules to capture these events. So for that, we need to go into I need to copy this information because I will need that. So my bucket name is HQ files, and this is in a particular compartment. So now for creating events, I need to go to identity and security. No, observability and management. And inside observability and management, there is the event service. So I can go into event service and I will be creating an event. Now here I have rules. So I can click on create rule. Let's give it a name, my HQ files, event rules. Yeah. Now, as you can see, there are different event types. OCI event service. Within OCI, many different services can fire events. You can go into the documentation and you can find all the different services which have events and what kind of events they can fire. And based on that, you can use the same scenario for different use cases. In my case, I'm interested in object storage. So let me search. When I click on object storage, these are the different events that it supports, bucket create, bucket delete, bucket update, object create, object delete, and object update. So in my case, I just want to capture the event when object is created. So that's what I will select. I can add other additions because as you notice so far, I have not provided from which bucket this is capturing. So I will create a condition. And in this time, I will select attribute. And in attribute, I am going to select the bucket name, right? So remember the bucket that I created, that was HQ files. I provide that information and I want to capture or want to provide a compartment name as well. So I will select compartment name and my compartment name is shared BPI. So I will just do that. Okay. So as you can see, the event type object storage is create, from which bucket is HQ files and compartment name is that. Now coming to actions, I can send this information, as I mentioned earlier, to OCI streaming, notification, or functions. In my case, I want to send it to streaming. My stream that I have already created is in shared BPI. And the stream name is HQ stream. So that's what I'm going to do. At the same time, I can actually validate rule. So this rule that I have created, whether that is correct or not. Here you can see what is the data that is going to come in. So this is the sample event where I will get event ID source and I will get information like the resource name. So, the object that I will drop, it will come over here as resource name. And inside I have the bucket name, bucket ID, and other bits. This information is very, very important. I need to copy this and save it because this will be used in Oracle Integration Cloud, because when the data will come to stream, this is the information that's going to go. And I will come over here and I will find information like, as I said, resource name is important for me, bucket name as well I might need. Okay, so let's copy and save it. And I can, check if the example, it matches the rule. It's all, if it comes back, it's successful. I can see that my event, HQ event has been created successfully. I can come over here and again see event matching. My object create is the event type, compartment name is this, bucket name is this. I've not added any filters. In this scenario, I can add filter. Maybe I want to capture files of a certain type only. And in actions, it's going to streaming. All this is enabled. We can quickly go and look at the stream. Within OCI streaming, I can create a new stream. And in this scenario, I already had the stream. Okay. So this is my stream where the message would come. Let's go into storage, buckets, and we will shortly go into the integration and create our integration. So this is our HQ files. Now, this is Oracle Integration Cloud. In Oracle Integration Cloud, this is Oracle Integration Cloud version 3. I have a project. I've already created a project with some connections, so we will walk through that first before we start creating our integration. So here's the project. The connections that I have already created, there's one REST trigger. But in this scenario, I actually don't need REST trigger. That was for another scenario. But, the only thing that I need is the HQ streaming. So here we can provide the details of our streaming connection. You can find within the documentation how to configure the streaming adapter. And I have created a local file. Now for local file, we will just check one thing. So as you can see, this is linked with one of my agents. So I have created an agent in my this laptop, and this is connected to Oracle Integration Cloud, this instance. Okay, let's start with our integration. So we do plus, we create. This is an application-driven integration, and let's call it real-time processing. Okay. Oh, another integration already, because I was testing it, already exists with that name. So let me call it something else. Let's call it real-time object processing. Okay. So as I said, my trigger is going to be streaming adapter. So I will select the streaming adapter. What it is going to do, get objects, continue. I have only one stream, so I can see my stream over there. And at the bottom, the partition is default. Let's call it a consumer group. So I'm giving it OIC. Polling frequency is 10. Maximum number of records. I just want to fetch one record at a time. Do I need to configure the following option? Do you want to specify a message structure? Yes, because that's the message structure that was in our event. So I have that information saved already. So I will provide that. Do you want to specify the headers? In this case, no. Now, my message structure is a sample JSON document. So I am going to select that, and I can find it in my browser. Continue. And this is how my trigger has been configured. Now, once the event fired, it comes within OIC. We have an action which we can use OCI Object Storage. So as you know, I want to get this file, I want to pass it on. So I use that. I will call it download object. This manage objects, what operation? I want to download the object. Okay. What is the compartment? This is inside the compartment which was shared BPI. So I just need to find and select that. Okay. And my bucket name is HQ files. So as you can see, since I have configured it, I do get to see all the compartments which I have access to and all the buckets that I have access to. So I select that. That's all the information I need to provide here. So finish. And in the mapper, I need to pass the object name. So as I was mentioning when I was showing you the event, that when the event comes, we do get the object name over there. So here you can see from the message collection, messages, request wrapper, content, and here within data, I have the resource name. So I need to pass that resource name to the template parameter, which is the object name. So I just do a one-to-one mapping. And now I will be able to download this particular object. Okay. Now I have the file. Now I want to pass this file and I want to save this locally. So for that scenario, I will be using my other connection, which is the local file. Remember, this is not the FTP adapter, this is the file adapter, because my scenario was I want to save it locally. Because I recently saw a requirement where from Fusion ERP Cloud, they were sending the files to object storage, and they wanted to pass that to their local system into a NFS mount. So how can we achieve that? We can actually put the connectivity agent in a Linux box, and we can then save the files locally. So let's call it write file, continue. I want to write file, so that's the operation I will select. I want to provide the directory. So my directory is, this is the path of my directory. Object name, the file pattern can be anything, but I will be just saving the same file. So let's, for now, just give that. No, because I just want to pass the file as is. In my scenario, I'll be just using some images. If I was getting some file, let's say comma separated file, I can, or XML or JSON, I can provide that structure and then utilize that in my next steps. So my adapter for write file has been successful. I now want to do the mapping. In this scenario, I need to provide and pass the file. So if you notice, I have file name and directory. Directory I've already provided. File name, again, I will use the file name from the request wrapper, which is within message, request wrapper, content, and I have data. And I want to pass the file reference. So in my last object where I was doing download object, in the response, I do get a stream reference. So that stream reference gets mapped to the file reference. Validate. Okay. So as soon as the file is dropped, I will receive it. I will pass it to invoke. And also what I want to do, once that file has been processed, in my object storage, I want to delete that. Okay, I can move that, I can do something else, but in my scenario, I just want to go ahead and delete. So I will again use the OCI object action. Let's call it delete object, manage objects, operation delete object, compartment, again, the same compartment. Bucket, again, is the HQ files, and continue. You can see using our object storage actions to work with files is so straightforward and simple. It's just configuration and some mapping. So now, again, in the mapping, I need to provide the object name, which by now, you know from where I'm going to get. It is the request, have the request wrapper, content, data, and resource name. Cool. So that completes my integration. As you can see, I have OCI Stream as a trigger. I download the object, I write the file, and finally, I delete the object. Before I save and run it, I need to pass the identifiers. So let's give the file name again as one of the tracking variables. Quickly. Good. So here's my real-time object processing. So let's activate it. Debug, activate. Okay. So that integration has been activated successfully. Now let's test it now. So let's go to HQ files, and I will upload some files. So let's select file. And let's drop 3 files. Let's see. Upload. So my files have been uploaded. So 3 of them have been uploaded. So what should have happened? It should fire events that goes to OCI Streaming, and in Oracle Integration Cloud, I should be able to capture. So I come to projects, and within my project, I go to observe. You can see that the information has started triggering. So I already have received 1. Second one has already succeeded successfully. And the third one is also coming. So if I go and look at this, you can see 7, 8, 9. I already have, so if I go back to instances, integrations, 3 have already come, 3 have been processed, 3 have been processed successfully. So let's see. I can see 3 over there. And if I go into the integration, remember, I added 3 files. Those 3 files, it triggered the integration. It downloaded the file. It wrote the file, and then it deleted. So if I go back to the bucket, I come over here, I just refresh. You can see those 3 files are gone. And if I look at my local directory where I had the inbox, those 3 files have come. So what we did today was an example of how we can process files in real time. I created a bucket, I enabled events, and from those events, I actually created an event rule that when the object is created, that sends to a stream. I created an Oracle Integration Service very simply using the adapters where I was triggered a stream as soon as the message comes. I was able to use the OCI object action to download that object, write it to a local file, and then delete that object as well. So next time you want to process files in real time, you can use this scenario and use case and pattern. And as I said, in this scenario, I was just getting the files and directly storing. But in your scenario, you might get some XML files or JSON files. You might want to send it to ERP cloud or write it to a database. You can perform all those kind of use cases. Thank you.